U.S. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton returns to the campaign trail after a brief bout of pneumonia. Washington accuses China of unfairly tinkering with commodity prices. And how Hollywood's low-budget action films are winning over fans around the world. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Well, now, in the battle for the White House, U.S. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton plans to return to the campaign trail on Tuesday after becoming ill for several days with a bout of pneumonia. While the former Secretary of State continued to recuperate, she got a rousing endorsement from the country's #1 Democrat and her former boss, President Barack Obama.
In the middle of crisis, she'll listen to people and she will keep her cool, and she treats everybody with respect. And no matter how daunting the odds, no matter how many times people knock her down and mess with her, she does not quit. She doesn't quit. She doesn't quit. That's the Hillary that I know.
The president dismissed Clinton's Republican opponent, Donald Trump, as not being fit to serve as the country's commander-in-chief.
I mean, look, I keep on reading this analysis that, well, Trump's got support from, working folks. Really? That, this is the guy you want to be championing working people? This guy who spent 70 years on this earth showing no concern for working people. This guy's suddenly going to be your champion?
Trump later appeared outside Philadelphia, where he unveiled details of his plan for making childcare more affordable for American families and working mothers.
Too often, those who have power have disdain for the views, beliefs, and attitudes of those who don't have any political power. Those in leadership must put themselves in the shoes of the laid-off factory worker, the family worried about security, or the mom struggling to afford child care. Child care is such a big problem.
Trump proposed guaranteeing 6 weeks of paid maternity leave to employees whose employers don't offer leave already. With just 8 weeks to go before the November 8th election, the latest polls show the race between Clinton and Trump tightening, with Clinton holding a 3 to 4 point lead nationwide. When I was saying with politics, Muslim Americans have generally been perceived as a natural Republican constituency, yet they have been increasingly leaning Democratic, and they are expected to vote in record numbers for Democrat Hillary Clinton in November. VOA's Masood Farivar reports on this voting bloc's shifting political allegiance.
This mosque outside Washington is far from a Democratic stronghold. Pro-faith and pro-family, many congregants at the Dar al-Hijra Mosque in Falls Church, Virginia, once voted Republican. Now, most say they will vote for Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton, if only to stop her Republican rival from winning the race for the White House.
We're all, pretty much kind of are thinking along the same path, right? In terms of just really, the way the propaganda, again, that's being spread against us, we just cannot allow that to stand.
It's critical that we don't bring Islamophobia to the White House. So I think that's why that all Muslims who are registered to vote or who aren't should get registered to vote so that they can vote Democratic.
On Fridays, Sister Fazia Dean, Dar al-Hijra's outreach liaison, leads a team of young volunteers to register female voters, part of a nationwide campaign to sign up 1 million Muslim voters. Her pitch is simple.
This is an important year. Well, you have Clinton and you have this crazy guy, right? Trump. So it's important if we don't vote that Trump might get in.
Like the Guyanese-born Dean, most Muslim Americans are immigrants. Polls show that most in the community lean Democratic and have progressive views. In 2000, Muslim Americans overwhelmingly backed George Bush for president, but in the last 3 elections, they have voted for Democratic candidates. Georgetown University professor John Esposito says the 2000 election was an exception.
Historically, the Democratic Party was seen much more as a party of people, more inclusive, the Republican Party, and it tends to still be seen by many as a party of the establishment, of the privileged, etc.
What do we do?
The flight to the Democratic Party has only deepened because of Republican Donald Trump's rhetoric, seen as anti-Muslim. While the Muslim American vote remains small, activists say large Muslim communities in Florida, Ohio, Virginia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania could prove critical.
It could be the Muslims in that swing state would make the difference. That 1% again is going to be crucial, especially in those swing states when the ballot is going to be that close.
But experts say over the long term, as the Muslim American community grows more diverse socioeconomically, so will their political allegiances. And that, Georgetown University's Esposito says, is a good thing for democracy and the community. Masood Farivar, VOA News, Washington.
Well, with the presidential election fast approaching, top U.S. officials are on guard for cyber attacks after a string of recent unnerving hacks. VOA's Steve Baragona has more.
Hacked emails at the Democratic National Committee, hacked voter registration systems in Illinois and Arizona, Russia suspected in both. At an Armed Services Committee hearing Tuesday, Senator John McCain wondered if November's election might be next.
Is there a possible scenario where they could disrupt the voting results in the upcoming election?
I think there are scenarios where you could see capability applied in particular areas.
Admiral Michael Rogers, the head of U.S. Cyber Command, said a widespread attack would be hard to do because voting machines and procedures vary widely among the 10,000 jurisdictions across the country. And state officials work hard to keep voter rolls and voting machines out of the hands of hackers and old-fashioned vote riggers. That was the message across Capitol Hill at a House Science Committee hearing. Tom Shedler is Louisiana's Secretary of State.
Are we concerned about potential interference into our election process? We absolutely are. But voter fraud is much, much harder to accomplish than you may think.
Shedler said Louisiana voting machines never touch the internet. Data cards are physically carried to headquarters, and vote tallies are transmitted on a closed circuit, not online. But there are other ways to attack a computer besides the internet. Think Stuxnet, the virus that damaged an Iranian nuclear facility, said Rice University computer science professor Dan Wallach.
That nuclear refinement facility was also meant to be secure. It also was not connected to the internet. Yet somehow this Stuxnet malware was able to do its job.
And he said the decentralized U.S. election system only offers partial protection.
And they need not attack every county in every state. It's sufficient for them to go after battleground states where a small nudge can have a large impact.
But Shedler said the threat of hacking has been exaggerated, but the threat alone may be damaging.
But in recent weeks, reports on cyber attacks have voters questioning whether their vote will actually count. And that, in my opinion, is more damaging than the potential for hacking.
Ultimately, a paper ballot backup is the best protection against tampering, experts say. 3/4 of this year's votes will leave a paper trail. More states are looking into paper backups, but they will not be ready in the 2 months before the election. Steve Baragona, VOA News, Washington.
Ethiopian silver medalist Feyisa Lilesa, who gained attention at the marathon finish line in Rio de Janeiro with a memorable gesture of support and defiance, warned the international community that his country was in danger of sliding into a Rwanda-like situation where ethnic groups turn on one another. Lilesa held his arms over his head, wrists crossed as he strode across the finish line to claim the silver medal in Rio, mimicking a sign taken up by protesters in the Horn of Africa country's Oromia region. The province has been plagued by unrest for months over land rights and allegations of human rights violations. After the race, Lilesa said he feared he would face consequences if he returned home. He spoke to reporters on Tuesday here in Washington about the state of things in his country.
If this situation continues, I have no doubt Ethiopia is staring at a base. You are going to see a great tragedy unless the international community is able to bring about change in that country. I'm personally very fearful that this is going to take an ethnic dimension, where you will see a Rwanda-like situation where ethnic groups turn on each other.
Well, Ilesa entered the U.S. on a temporary visa, and he's considering settling in Arizona or New Mexico, where he has friends and he can continue training. He leaves a wife and 2 young children back home in Ethiopia, who he says he is in contact with. Well, medical researchers say public mistrust of vaccines is causing the outbreak of diseases like measles. A joint study by researchers in London and Singapore found big variations in the level of public confidence in the importance, safety and effectiveness of vaccines. Henry Ridgewell has a report.
Health workers in the Democratic Republic of Congo walked the streets of Kinshasa, calling on the public to attend a yellow fever vaccination program. An outbreak of the disease has hit the DRC and Angola this year, killing hundreds of people. The World Health Organization aims to vaccinate over 15 million people in both countries.
If everyone agrees to be vaccinated, we can eradicate yellow fever from our country.
Figures from a London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine study show that people in the Africa region have high confidence in the safety of vaccines relative to other parts of the world, with just 7.4% of respondents believing vaccinations are unsafe, second only to Southeast Asia. In Europe, the figure is 15.8%, driven largely by France, where 41% of the population questions the safety of vaccines.
Anxieties about links between hepatitis B and multiple sclerosis several years ago, scientifically deemed unlinked but still caused anxiety. There still is today and has been concerns about side effects related to the HPV vaccine. Again, not scientifically confirmed, but anxieties about that.
Mistrust in France was also driven by the response to the H1N1 flu outbreak fears in 2009, when the government spent $1.4 billion on 94 million doses of the vaccine. The majority were sold off or destroyed. Dr. Larson fears the consequences of that mistrust.
We will get some combination of influenza strains that will be very fatal, and if we have such poor compliance with a pandemic vaccine in future, I would be very worried about that.
Researchers warn that decreases in confidence can lead to people refusing vaccines, which in turn can trigger disease outbreaks. But the study found a high level of global support for vaccinating children against disease. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, are China's trade policies hurting U.S. farmers? Washington says yes. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
There's few things tastier in the summer heat than a cold, fruity ice pop, but how about one made from bone broth?
I think it's actually really good. It's sweet and savory at the same time.
Alex Kaplan from Washington, D.C. enjoying the cool taste of a broth pop. The idea coming from Sam Eckstein, co-founder of Spring Bone Kitchen.
We weren't trying to do anything revolutionary, to be honest. We're first and foremost a bone broth restaurant.
So Sam and his partner decided to have some summer fun and mix broth together with puree and berries and pomegranate juice, and voila, the broth pop.
I do taste something. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's a nice flavor. It's not a bad flavor.
Says Sandy Hydak from the Bronx. Good or bad, what counts is it's cold, and while it might not get on the regular menu, this little New York luncheonette always exploring ways to bring in more customers. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
I am Sheka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today, we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
Welcome back in business news. The world's largest payments network takes on the world's largest mobile money platform in Kenya, while a former Barclays CEO may still be interested in the South African unit. Now, for all the details, Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino joins us live from New York. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Vincent. So Africa's the center of global banking industry, and this is interesting. According to data from the GSMA, 85% of sub-Saharan Africa has over 84 million active mobile money accounts, with South Asia in second place at just 28 million. So that's almost 3 times the amount. Within sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya is the longtime standout, with more than half of adults using M-Pesa, which is owned by the Kenyan telecom Safaricom, or one of its rival platforms. Now, Visa has launched its M-Visa app that allows users to make purchases or transfer money on their cell phones in Kenya. The head of Visa for Sub-Saharan Africa told Bloomberg that the company has not been able to penetrate the African market with traditional card payment systems, and that is why it's looking to get into mobile banking.
So where else will M-Visa be made available?
Visa's in talks to roll out the product in Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda within 2 months, and expects to have the first Nigerian bank signing up by the end of 2016. And it's just in talks now with South Africa. This is more than just mobile innovation. One of the topics we discuss on the program is intra-African trade and how boosting trade on the continent can create millions of jobs and encourage investment. The poor quality or absence of regional payment systems makes cross-border trade expensive and sometimes slow. These new types of mobile banking platforms and more cooperation from the banks is crucial to Africa's development.
Now going down to South Africa, it looks like Barclays stake sales there making headlines, and this is with its former CEO, right?
Right. Well, we reported that Barclays has been shedding its African business due to regulatory pressure. Barclays' former CEO, Bob Diamond, who I'll be meeting with on next Monday, has been putting together a consortium to bid for Barclays Africa, with funding lined up from buyout firm Carlyle Group and other investors, including several sovereign wealth funds, in an effort to combine Barclays Africa with Atlas Mara, the small African banking group Diamond co-founded in 2013. Sources said this week that Carlyle may be pulling out of Diamond's Atlas Mara, which remains committed to the stake. Atlas Mara's vision is to create a financial services group to stimulate and accelerate growth in sub-Saharan Africa. And this ties into that theme that we're constantly talking about when it comes to banking infrastructure for facilitating cross-border trade.
A lot happening on the African continent. Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you.
Now that is Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino reporting live from New York. Washington is accusing Beijing of unfairly tinkering with the price of corn, wheat and rice in ways that hurt U.S. exports and farmers. U.S. President Barack Obama says his administration has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization and will push very hard to give U.S. farmers a fair chance to sell their goods on global markets. As VOA's Jim Rundle reports, hundreds of thousands of jobs and billions of dollars are at stake.
Trade officials say U.S. exports of rice, wheat, and corn are vital to the American economy, averaging $20 billion a year and supporting 200,000 jobs. U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman says Beijing hurts U.S. farm exports by paying more than market value for key commodities.
To American farmers who are not subsidized in excess of the United States WTO commitments and face unfairly limited export opportunities.
By inflating the minimum price paid to Chinese farmers for commodities, Beijing encourages overproduction, which makes it hard for American farmers to sell their products. Froman accused China of violating promises it made to the World Trade Organization.
The excessive government support that China provides to these growers exceeds the firm commitments it made when it joined the WTO in 2001.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack says China will soon be the largest market for U.S. farm goods, which now generate $20 billion a year. Vilsack complains China should offer far more opportunity.
We could be doing much better, particularly if our grain exports could compete in China on a level playing field.
Washington has filed 14 WTO complaints against China since 2009, winning all the disputes that have been decided so far. Trade is a politically sensitive issue in the United States because Beijing sells $365 billion more a year to Americans than Americans sell to Chinese customers. Additionally, trade has come under fire in the U.S. presidential campaign because of criticism of key trade deals that many voters fear cost American jobs. U.S. trade officials said enforcement actions like this one against China could help persuade a skeptical public that Washington is working effectively to protect their interests. Jim Randall, VOA News, Washington.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the low-budget action movie Herb that's winning fans around the world. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines.
In Zambia, Edgar Lungu is sworn in as a new president following a legal attempt by the opposition to block the inauguration ceremony. Somalia hosts regional African heads of state for the first time since 1991 to discuss the country's upcoming vote for a new parliament and president. The report criticizes Britain's military intervention that led to the overthrow of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, saying it stimulated the country's political and economic collapse. Finally, in Cameroon, the government introduces a program to encourage young people to take up cocoa farming in line with the country's plan to triple production.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
My name's Carla Babb, and I work the Pentagon Beat. That access helps me to do better stories. Every day it's my responsibility to collect all of the defense news. It keeps our VOA viewers informed. I get to travel all across the globe. Anything that's defense related and how to protect and keep people safe, that's where I'll go. So it's never a dull moment at the Pentagon. My name is Carla Babb. This is my beat.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
You're with Africa 54. Welcome back. I'm Haiti Adams-Fitzpatrick. Here is what's trending. The Cuban government has announced that it will begin offering internet services to citizens' homes for the first time. There are 58 Wi-Fi hotspots in Cuba for regular citizens to access the internet. The government has also set up dozens of internet cafes. The home internet project still won't come close to meeting demand, though, and the price is steep. $2 an hour. Remember, most Cubans earn an average of $20 a month. There's no word on when the residential internet connection will become available. Now, this must be my favorite story. Forget Hollywood, we're taking you inside Wakaliwood. For over a decade, former bricklayer Isaac Nabwana has been making feature films from a makeshift studio in Kampala's Wakaliga village. He uses scrap metal and other materials to fabricate props like a helicopter and machine guns. Nabwana makes movies across various genres without electricity or plumbing. The studio's violent, action-packed flicks have developed somewhat of a cult following internationally. A new Wakaliwood film titled Bad Black is set to have its world premiere later this month at the Fantastic Fest Film Festival in Austin, Texas. I have got to get to Texas. And finally, you've probably seen these posters on social media. So what's with the cats in London? All the usual ads have been taken down in London's Clapham Common Underground station, replaced by 68 oversized portraits of kittens. Many commuters think the posters are simply awesome, a great change from ads warning about health risks or promoting glamorous, largely unaffordable holidays. The crowd-funded venture features stray cats from 2 rescue charities. Some of the cats in the photographs are available for adoption. And that is what's trending today. Vincent, back to you.
Wow, those cats. Now, what do U.S. college students know about geography, the environment, demographics, U.S. foreign policy, recent international events, and even economics? Now, the National Geographic Society and the Council on Foreign Relations set out to find out with a survey. If it had been a test, most of the class would have failed. Here's VOA's Faith Lapidus.
1,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 26 who currently attend or have attended a college or university in the United States participated in the survey. Questions were designed to test students' basic understanding of the world and America's role in it. The results were not encouraging. The average score was only 55%.
There's no alternative to a successful, orderly world where the United States plays a large role. But then we have to have the young men and women prepared to play those significant roles. And this study suggests that we are not producing them in significant numbers or sufficient proportions to fulfill those needs.
Is the United States bound by treaty to protect Japan if it's attacked? Only 28% of the students knew it is, and only 30% knew that the authority to declare war rests with the U.S. Congress. The good news, even though they did poorly on the quiz, a majority of those tested said they wanted to know more about the world and considered it important.
We're trying to figure out, how do we get younger people where they are? Because, you know, they say they want to know. Well, let's tell them, but we can't just expect them all to pick up a newspaper or read a hard copy magazine.
The surveyors are developing social media programs. The goal, they say, is not just to point out what students don't know, but to figure out ways to get them the information they want to know and make them active citizens and informed voters. For writer Kevin Enochs, I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News, Washington.
And it's always beneficial to be informed about the world. Well, that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. There are many expressions you could use when you travel.
All over the map.
But is this expression about traveling?
Hey, how was your meeting in New York City?
It was awesome. I met some people in the music industry. I saw an old friend from college, and she has this amazing job. I went shopping. I mean, look at these shoes.
Wait, you're all over the map. Just focus on one thing at a time.
Sorry.
Well, let's start with the most important thing. Let's see those shoes.
To be all over the map means you shift from topic to topic. It means you are disorganized or going in different directions. Jonathan asked Anna about her meeting in New York, but she went from one topic to another. It is hard to follow someone whose thoughts are all over the map. And that's English in a Minute.
I'm Roger Muntu with Washington Forum. This is VOA. Follow us on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Washington Forum.